Hello, and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The following disclaimer applies. Like in all of our episodes, the thoughts and opinions here are specifically those of the participants and do not reflect any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Please remember, everybody, to keep your conversations open to the public and on the level for tonight's episode. To interact with us, we're interested in hearing from you. You can send us a line at Mason Roundtable on Twitter. You can talk to us on Facebook Live and in the chat section running alongside this YouTube video. You all know me. I'm Jason Richards. I am a past master of Vacation Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia. And we've got a pretty good house tonight. We're going to go over to Mike the intern to start off introductions.
Hey, Mike the intern here, junior warden and lodge education officer for Lakeshore number 307 in Madison, Ohio. Good evening, everyone.
Good
Oh, by the way, that's
evening.
just elected junior warden.
Woo! Congrats.
Thanks.
On to the Mobile Masonic Command, John Ruark.
Hey guys, glad Jason took the helm tonight and started everything behind the scenes. So I'm looking forward to tonight's episode. And who am I? Past Master of Patriot Lodge in 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia.
All right, great. We're glad you're able to make it, John. Brother Juan Sepulveda.
Good evening, everyone. Juan Sepulveda here from Orange Blossom Lodge, number 80 in sunny Kissimmee, Florida, and the host of the Winding Stairs Freemasonry podcast. Hello, everyone.
All right, great to have you with us. Brother Robert Johnson.
Hello, Robert Johnson, past Master Waukegan, sitting secretary Spitz Novum Lodge, and host of Whence Came You podcast. Thanks.
All right, thanks. And introducing special guest, Brother Nicholas Harvey. You may have seen him on the Three Distinct Knocks show. We are really excited to have him here with us tonight. Brother Nicholas, talk a little bit about where you're from, what you do.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Brother Nicholas Harvey from St. John's Lodge, Boston, and Jupiter Light Lodge in Jupiter, Florida.
All right, awesome. We are glad to have you with us. We got a full house tonight. So let's get before we get into tonight's topics, we just need to talk a little bit about our fans on Patreon. We thank you so much for everything that that you're doing to help support the show week after week. So thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed to us on Patreon, you can go to www.patreon.com/the Masonic Roundtable, and we'll hook you up with some cool experiences and some good stuff. So thanks so much to everybody who supports the show. Now let's get into tonight's topic, which is social media marketing. So we've talked a lot about social media in the past on the Masonic Roundtable. And Brother Nicholas actually came to us a couple weeks ago with some really, really cool and interesting ways that he's been able to use social media marketing to various ends for his own lodge and his jurisdiction. So we decided that this would be an awesome topic to talk about, just how you can use social media to help raise awareness for your lodge and your events. So with that, Brother Nicholas, I'd be more than happy for you to start off and give us kind of an introduction to what you've been up to.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, with the permission of our late past Grand Master, Most Worshipful John Karoom, it was really his vision that he agreed for us to be able to run Facebook ads. And to the best of my knowledge, we were the first lodge in Florida to do so, or at least that's what everybody tells us. I'm super grateful my lodge is really open to trying new things and seeing what works. So we've started doing Facebook ads for a couple of different events that we had. I think the first one was a magic show. So we basically, with Facebook advertising, you could narrow it down by region, right? So we picked our lodge, and then we did, I think it's like 5 nautical miles, because we figured more than that, people probably won't show up. And I targeted a few different interests, But the main one, and the one that was the most successful, was mothers and females and people with children. But it was primarily female related. And for the magic show, I think we spent like $60 or $70 in Facebook ads. I would love to pull it up as soon as Facebook stops being broken. And
So while you're checking that out, I wanted to kind of set things up about, remember we talked about in the episode on the factory about how you can document how many people you're reaching. This is like the digital way of doing that. I kind of talked about the low-tech way of keeping track of who attends your events and how can you get a roster, how can you follow up, because you're tracking how many people show up and then how many people do something like to activate to be a part of an event. And so what you've done digitally is you've actually been able to track. It's kind of amazing. You've been able to locally target people that are interested and want to be interested in your event. And so you said you picked 5 nautical miles around the lodge, and so only people who were on Facebook within 5 miles of the lodge would have seen that ad. No one else would have seen that ad. So it's a very low risk way of just letting people know that you're in the community and you have something to offer. So I wanted to set that up because you really kind of brushed it off as some nonchalant thing. And for millennials who are in digital marketing, that's no big thing. But this is amazing, the power that you can reach people that you've never met. You don't have to put flyers up. You don't have to put signs up. You don't have to run newspaper ads. You can do it from your home and target these people that you want to come check out your Masonic event. That's amazing.
Yeah, you're right. And you're right. The turnout was incredible. So we found a magician. So where our lodge is, it's in a neighborhood that's predominantly lower class and predominantly Spanish speaking. So we, divine intervention, I don't know. We found a magician who was bilingual. And we're like, that's perfect. So we told him what we were doing. We're like, hey, we're not charging for this event. We're just trying to say thank you to the community because there's been a few instances where the community actually like watches over our lodge and makes sure nothing happens to it. And we're really grateful for that. So we did this. We didn't do any other advertising besides this one Facebook ad where it ran for 1 week. And all it said was free magic show, ice cream and cotton candy. Like, come on out, bring the family. And that was really it. And we had a lot more people than we thought were going to be there. I think we had like 60 parents, and then each of them had, 1, 2, 3, 4 kids. It was one of those events where we didn't think there was going to be that many people coming. For that kind of Facebook advertising, you can't really track who's going to come, right? They could RSVP to the Facebook event, but you never know who's going to show up. But it was really cool to see that we did no advertising, and then all these people showed up, and they had a great time. And
so just to clarify, I mean, you can track some of that with some of the, you said the Facebook Business Manager thing. You can see how many people Facebook showed that ad to. And
right.
so while you can't track who they told, how many friends they told, or how many other people they were going to bring with them, you have a starting point that says, I know with data that this reached 200 people within 5 miles for a week.
Right.
So you have that to start with. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's exciting. I don't know. I'm really stoked about it because the power of, if this were analog, back in the old days, you would put a flyer out. How many people read the flyer? You'll never know.
You have no idea.
Right? You have no idea. And so all that advertising in the past was all risk-based. Now you can actually experiment. And we'll talk more about how can you experiment later. But just the power of what you're doing is not.
Yeah. So
I would
moving on. Go ahead.
Nick, I was just going to ask, like, when you do this, what is your primary goal? Like, yes, it's cool to put out an ad to see results and to geek out about those results, but what I'm curious is, what is the intent? Why does it matter? Like, what are you trying to get out of having a successful community event? That's what I'm
Sure.
curious about, because I think ultimately that's where I'm going to say, yeah, like for me personally, in my viewpoint, uh, is that's going to determine whether or not I find value in the social media presence at all. So
Right.
can you s- like let me into your brain a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. So my mother lodge in Boston is a very traditional style, um, semi-esoteric but very traditional masonry. My lodge in Florida is very, very charity based. And to answer that question, I have to tell you a story. So we were having an event, a different event, much different time. We didn't do ads for this one, and some people from the community came, and there was this mother who had like three children, and you could tell like their clothes were a little bit big, and you could get the picture. And we sold hot dogs for like $1 or something crazy, and soda for like 50 cents or whatever. And this really young kid, and I want to say he's about 6 or 7 or something, he comes, and his mom is counting out coins for him to get a hot dog. And there were so many people, and we're trying to do things that we just grabbed it and we gave him a hot dog, and he devoured that hot dog. And I'm not joking, I'm not trying to like make this all like beautiful or whatever, but to seriously see, like, I was there, I saw that kid, he was so happy for that hot dog. And we all kind of just looked at each other, and then we're like, yeah. So we threw the the price sheet on the floor behind us, and we just kept giving these people like hot dogs, right? But how much do hot dogs cost? They're nothing. And then so we were giving them hot dogs, and this little kid had 4 hot dogs, and you swear we just gave him like a slice of chocolate cake, and it was his birthday. And after that, like, my lodge was just like, that's it. We got to do more for the community. Um, and so we just kept cooking, and we gave them all these like hot dogs, and we pulled out some candy that we had in the lodge, and we
Can
gave them
you
all the
can you
cotton
say that
candy.
one more time? Can you say that one more time? Can you say, you said we have to what? You said something about doing something for the community. Can you underscore that? Can
Oh,
we do more for the community?
We have to
yeah,
do more for
Like,
the community.
I I
right.
thought that was, like, I'm not somebody who likes to do charitable events. I don't like having
Oh,
the public come out to the lodge
totally.
or
Dude, I'm
or
totally
to
with you.
do
That's
any of
not,
this stuff. But
yeah.
what you're talking about is affecting the community in a positive way. And I was in the chat room earlier and we were talking, and I said something to the effect of like, Freemasonry in America, it's one of its first callings was helping the community. So it's like a really Americana ideal to be there for the community in the way you're talking about. It's that relief portion, which I think is really fantastic and interesting. That I appreciate the story completely.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, to be clear, like, this isn't the type of lodge I came from. I'm like you, where um, there's that quote by David Riley that says, "For too long, we've been trying to buy the love of the profane world." And I believe that for a good part of it. But, and again, I know this could be as corny as you want to make it, but to see that kid eat that hot dog, like, you had to be there to be like, this was this kid's Christmas. So after that part, so we were like, we got to do more for the community. And our lodge is in a good area, but it could not be in a good area type thing. And we are really blessed, and we know that they watch over us. We see them on a security camera, like picking up trash as they walk past and stuff from if someone littered. just outside the lodge property. So we wanted to say thank you. So to answer your original question, so after we saw that kid eating that hot dog, we were like, forget it. More community events, and we're not charging anybody for anything. um, and that was a really good time.
Oh, that is just so cool. My mother lodge, Acacia Lodge, is really big in the community as well, but not to that scale. But at the same time, the Clifton community is really that lodge charity and that lodge calling that we have. So to see that your lodge doing that as well, and the way that you're able to actually get the word out to the greater community about the free events and the community building that your lodge does, I think that's a game changer for lodges that are looking for um, a place in the community, if that makes sense. Is a lot of times, you grow up seeing the lodge building, and nobody ever goes in or out. You have no idea like what it is, or why people go there, if or even if it's abandoned. But social media has the chance to kind of turn that on its head, for a very specific type of lodge that wants to make a specific type of impact in the community.
Yeah, and you're totally right. Um, we did a Halloween event, and I'm just looking up my notes here. So we wanted to do a Halloween event, and now the first thing the lodge did is like, Nick, you're running Facebook ads. We're doing this event, and it's like, okay. So we're doing a trunk or treat. So we have a pretty big parking lot. Everybody pops their trunk and decorates it. Um, we had the local police out there, so you could like touch a police cruiser. Kids love that stuff. We did the same thing. We had hot dogs and hamburgers and cotton candy and so many. We have so many people that donated so much food. Um, and I'm looking at the numbers, we spent $80 on ads on Facebook. And we didn't run any other ads, any other advertising on the radio or whatever a newspaper is or anything like that. Um, and we reached, and I did the same thing, the same distance around, and we reached about 10,000 people on Facebook. So these people saw our event, trunk or treat, bring the family, um, free, whatever, everything. And I think the final number was somewhere around like
Whoa,
400,
you
400.
reached 10,000 people.
Oh, hey. Yeah, we reached 10,000 people. I'm looking at the numbers for $80 total.
And you just said you had over 400 people at that event.
Yeah, it was. We actually ran out of parking and they were parking along the streets. Everybody came dressed up. Again, all these kids. Uh, and this one, we had a similar, like, if you want to like donate money to get a hot dog or something, go ahead. But there's always somebody that was like, no, forget it. We're not charging. So we gave out all these food, and it's not. I really can't. I really hope I'm painting the picture correctly of like these people that don't have food. You know what I mean? Like you could tell this dude's not eating 3 meals every day, and they're just and we're giving them cotton candy, and the kid's looking at it like, what is this? And I'm like, dude, just eat it. Like, and he's like, oh, and then he's trying to ask for more, and we're just like loading it up, and what was really cool about the trunk or treat is this one was more family based, so a lot of more fathers came out as well, and a lot of guys were like, hey, so tell me about this Freemasonry thing. um, and we're like, oh, have we got a special for you? So we give them the little spiel and just tell them, we're here doing this, and they're like, and you're not charging for any of this, and we're like, nope. And they're like, why are you doing it? We're like, we just want to say thanks to the community. It was, I think, a week before Halloween, so we wanted to try to get before everybody else was doing events. And I think it was only 4 or 5 hours. But everybody had a lot of fun. That event was interesting because we didn't really, again, we didn't expect that many people, so we didn't really have a lot of places for people to sit. But people didn't leave. like families were sitting on the ground, just talking, crisscross facing each other, eating hot dogs and hamburgers. And they stayed there for like an hour. You don't get quality time like that anymore. So we just really
To
enjoyed it.
to that
Um,
to that point, I was talking with my wife today. We were just talking about how time passes too fast, right? And she was talking about time passing too fast. Where she's like, I start my Monday. She's on a revolving shift, whatever, right? So she's like, and before I know it, it's Friday, and before you know it, I'm back to work, like blew through the weekend. And we had this conversation. I was like, well, you know, there's an interview out there you guys should look up if you haven't seen it. Is Bill Murray on like 60 Minutes, and they say, well, what if you could do anything? What would you do? What would you do? And he has this really like somber moment where he just like is quiet, and they let the camera roll, and then he was like, I just wish I could be present, really present all the time. And so we fill our days up with tasks, right? We're like always fill like task to task to task. That's what we do. And when we're doing that,
Keeps
we're not
us from
spending any
thinking.
time like, yeah, like we're just boom, 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 blasting through stuff, and days go by like wind. And then you make it a point, like maybe you go to a cool event, like this trunk or treat you guys did, or it's like this the moment in Futurama where Fry hits like the 100th cup of coffee or whatever, and everything just slows down. He's like, oh gosh, look at all this stuff. And when you really take time to smell the roses, time does slow down, and you appreciate everything that you're going through. And so we had this conversation about slowing down, take time away from the tasks you're doing. The laundry can wait, play a game of Uno with the kids or whatever it's going to be. And in this instance, it sounds like you had that moment, right? It's like the golden wheat field, like in Gladiator, right? He's like standing there, he's just looking out. He's like, oh my God, this is life, real connections. This is cool. And yeah, nobody wants to give up an hour anymore. I mean, I have people I'll send colleagues a YouTube video and they go, how long is it? I'm like, dude,
Totally.
it's 2 minutes. I don't have time. I don't have 2 minutes. You don't have 2 minutes. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? So yeah, man, I feel that incredibly, and I think you did paint a wonderful picture of the way it was. I visualized the whole thing.
Thank you. Yeah, so those were our events, and like I said, they were super successful. They got people asking about us. Um, we had a woman that worked for one of the schools that said, "Hey, do you guys do any support for the school?" And we're like, "Lady, what do you want? Like you name it. Like my lodge is so crazy at how charitable they are. It's mind blowing because they're not the richest people, but they just keep giving, and it's just something I'm still experiencing for myself, and it's just giving, giving, giving. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, it's like generosity versus somebody posted on a Grand Lodge Facebook page today. What's the difference between generosity and charity? Like Webster's definitions notwithstanding, like define those things. And it's that idea. It's like the generosity comes through even when you don't have anything, because you always have something to give, whether it's time or just listening.
yeah,
Uh, Fantastic.
and I've said it before. Going to lodge is kind of like going on a date, where you have dinner before, and that's where you get to know the person and grow with the person and connect with them. And then when you get in lodge, it's like seeing a movie. You could sit next to the person and kind of experience it together, but you can't talk. There's no connection. And just all the lodge bros that came out and just sat there BSing. You can't you can't put a dollar amount on that time. The things we learned from somebody and another, and we're like, wait, did you really do that? Tell us more about that. And it was this guy in the lodge who's kind of quiet into himself, and he's super cool. We love him to death, but he doesn't share much, and that's okay. But here he is telling us something, and we're all just like, wow, that was so fascinating to learn. It was something super private. Um, and we grew a lot closer, I think, during these events. Um, And then we got the idea to run Facebook ads to see if we could get any petitions. And I know a lot of people listening just had a heart attack and probably a car crash, so we'll let them recover for a second.
So
But
John is still on the road. He's
I'm
still
still here.
okay. Yeah, he's still all
I'm
right.
cheering with joy. I'm cheering with joy. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, that's
Because it's a
very
great
much the
idea.
Patriot Lodge model.
It's the next step, right? And it's not for malicious things, right? If you can't say, if our whole motto is to be one, ask one, well, they got to know who you are. And I've said this for years, is that if the masonry of our parents and our grandparents were out in the community, where's the community now? The community's online, and we should be there as well. There's really no difference in my mind, and so it's actually a missed opportunity if we don't emulate the things that you've done. So I am very curious. What was your experiment? What was your result?
so the lodge, we were talking about, and they go, "Hey, can you use these Facebook ads to maybe get some petitions?" But we're not hurting. The lodge is very healthy. We're growing, good, whatever. And I was like, we could try it. And they're like, "How much do you need? $1,000?" I'm like, "Whoa, no."
If we wanted to reach every person in Florida, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm like, do not give me $1,000 for Facebook ads. That's gonna cause some problems.
No, you
So
have them give you the $1,000 and then you stash it away and just use a little bit every once in a while. Be like, oh no, I got this program. Like we don't need to pay for them for a long time. $80 a pop.
You mean like web developers for Facebook pages or for lodge pages where they overcharge and underdeliver?
Yeah, 100%. Right.
Yeah, like all the Yorkite websites. I mean,
hey, those flashy banners and the graphics with the same background, it's just a different color. Who doesn't want to know who the officers were in 1992?
that's true.
Oh, I'm dead.
All right,
I'm dead
so
because I just got done building
how
three
much did you
websites.
spend?
Go ahead.
How much did you spend, and kind of how did you set up the ad?
So we spent just under $100. I think it was like $90 or something at the end of it. So the Scottish Rite Northern Masonic jurisdiction came out with this campaign thing. It's notjustaman.org. And they came out with these banners and pictures and stuff that you could download and share for Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And there's Steve or 6, 8, 10, about 12 of them. And there's different guys, different demographics. And I'll just read a few of them. But one says, "Not just a man, a Mason." Another one says, "Being a Mason doesn't make you better than everyone else. It just makes you a better you. Whatever life throws at you, you have millions of brothers to help you catch it." So they're really cool. I mean, they're super catchy, very, very well done. Again, not
What's
just
the
a
one,
man.org.
Nick? What's the one that says it's the last part of it says comma? Oh wait, yes it does.
Becoming a Mason doesn't make you a better person. Oh wait, yes it does.
Yes, it does.
I want them to take that one and make it better than anybody else and put them together. It doesn't make you better than anybody else. Oh wait,
Wait, yes it does.
just kidding.
It's a
But
tagline
yes.
for observant masonry.
Ouch.
Yeah, wait. Masonry isn't elitism, right? What? Huh?
Hey,
No?
we are all on the level. That's why we have so many of them.
Gosh.
Absolutely.
Oh. I was with
So you ran
Martin
some of these
Falk.
Scottish Rite ads then. You ran
Yeah.
those taglines from that.
Right.
Did you do like the 5-mile radius as well, or what else did you do geographically?
So this one I did the whole city. It's probably 10 miles or so, give or take ish. And I broke this up into a couple different interest groups. That way I could really narrow down and see what works and what doesn't. And for anybody listening, this may sound super complicated or something, but it's really not. Guys are welcome to contact me, contact you guys, whoever, and we'll totally walk them through how to do this. It's really, really easy. So I targeted everybody in the city, and I targeted just men, right? Just because why waste the money showing it to women? Anyway, and I did, one group was everyone who's ever searched for the word Freemason. So Facebook has something called a pixel, and it's a piece of code that you put on your website that connects Facebook. So, for example, if I was searching for, I don't know, a car, and the local car dealership had this Facebook pixel installed on their website, and I Google, Dodges near me or something. If I went to that website, Facebook would say, oh, Nick is interested in cars. He's looking for a car. Let me show him all the ads that have to do with cars that he matches. And people know this if you search for something and then you see it in your news feed, scrolling it, right? It's called dynamic retargeting. So one interest group was Freemasons, right? We've been in the news a little bit, so I wanted to see. Plus, if they've ever Googled us, if they've ever been interested in learning more, they would have done a Google search somewhere. So Facebook knows everything, so we did that. I targeted another group. I targeted was active or retired military, because my lodge has quite a few of those. And a third group was, I can't recall, but something along the lines. Oh, fraternity, guys who are interested in fraternity, fraternism, etc. And I just let Facebook go. So I think my budget was like $4 a day or something like that. And Facebook would show these ads to people. And I used all the different ads. And the way Facebook works is that if you spend more time on one of the 8 or 10 ads than the other, Facebook says, oh, they're interested in it. So I'm going to show this one to more people. So, and, totally respecting the rules of the Grand Lodge in which I reside, and not advertising, hey, you should be a Mason. Nothing like that. I'm not doing anything more than the sign that's in our yard that says, lodge. That's all I'm doing. So the ad had a link to our website, and it said Freemasonry. Find out more. That's it. If you're interested, you can find out more. It's right there. So that led to our website where they could send me a message if they were interested, if they wanted to know more, whatever. I put some of the requirements on there, and just whatever age and all that stuff. And within 1 month, we got 8 petitions. I'm sorry, we got 8 people who actually came into the lodge. Sorry, let me back up. So we got quite a bit of people who filled out the form, says, I want to learn more, I want to learn more, I want to learn more. And I said, okay, here's the days we meet. If this date doesn't work for you, here's the Grand Lodge website where you can find a lodge in your area. We all meet at different nights. But if you're interested, let me know which one of these dates work for you. And you're welcome to come by the lodge. Dinner's at 6:30. You're welcome to come hang out with us. So, thanks, Mike. So maybe 20 people, give or take, emailed me saying that they were interested in this and that. And some of them said, the time doesn't work, the date doesn't work. And I said, all right, go find another lodge, whatever. If you're interested, go ahead. So from those like 20 or so, we had 8 people show up to our dinner, and they were interested, and they were like, I want to learn more. And we could count them. We say, oh, how'd you hear about us? And they go, I saw a Facebook ad. And then immediately, like, one of the old past masters like dropped dead. So that was fine. We had a new opening anyway. So we said, cool. So he comes to dinner, and anyone who said, yeah, I can make this date, I could come, I would say, great. I would call up the worshipful master, let him know. I would then see a couple of the brothers who come early to the dinner, and I say, hey, we got a new guy. This is his name. Here's a picture of him from his Facebook profile, whatever. I need you to be, lock onto him and introduce him. And we got those people kept coming, and they came, and if they want a petition, we give them one after we've met them a few times. If we think everything's on the up and up, nothing crazy like out of the box. And 8 people put in petitions, and one of them had a family emergency, so he kind of had to leave for a little while. But I think the rest 7 are on their way to be Masons. Just kind of fast forwarding a little bit. One of the guys comes in with a box, and it's this really old small box, and we're like, I don't know what that is. And he opens up the box, and it's like this ring, but you could barely see it. Like, the box is in really bad condition. And he goes, my grandfather gave me this ring when I was 4. And he told my mother to give it to me, and that one day when I'm ready to let you guys know, and I could have this ring, and I want to be a Freemason. I want to be just like my grandfather. I've heard all the stories. I want to do it. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. Now at this point, the whole lodge is circling around this guy, and you see this guy like shaking a little bit, like he's really trying to focus on this ring, like, and not get emotional. And I was like, wow. I said, tell me about your grandfather. And he goes, I don't know much about him. And I said, all right, what do you know? So he told me his name, and I said, where was he a Mason? And he goes, I think it was somewhere in New Jersey. And I said, okay. So he comes and he has dinner with us. The next day, I start making calls to New Jersey through friends and brothers. I said, I got to find this guy's lodge. Turns out his grandfather's lodge merged with another lodge, who then merged with another lodge over the years. But the Grand Lodge, the super sweet lady who answered the phone helped me for so long. You could tell she really had to go through some records. And she's like, okay, it's now called this lodge. I said, great. Give me the secretary's phone number. I called the secretary. I said, hey, I have a crazy story that I wanted to share with you. And this guy goes, what was that name? What? And it was like this older guy. And I said, yeah, that's this guy told me that's his name. Why are you like freaking out? And he goes, I was raised with that man. I was like, I'm sorry. He said his grandfather. He goes, yeah, I'm a really old secretary. I'm like, all right, man. Cool. He goes, I was raised with his grandfather. Wow. I haven't heard that name. And I go, well, listen, he wants to be a Mason, and I'm just wondering, do you guys have any old stuff from his grandfather, maybe? And he goes, yeah, we do. Definitely. He was a past master, very well loved. I said, dude, you got to get me some stuff, man. He goes, we haven't been that far down in the basement in a really long time, but I'm going to call the guys right now, and we're going to go search for this stuff. And he goes, I'm about to go on vacation. He was actually coming to Florida. And he goes, when I get back, the guys and we're going to find some stuff, and we're going to send it to you. And I said, dude, that's so cool, man. So they're still searching. This was pretty recent. So I'm hoping to hear back soon. I have still been in contact with them. And the goal is just to have this guy, we're going to get the stuff. And then when he becomes a Mason, we're going to be like, whatever we get, right, we're going to somehow tie it into, if it's an apron or something, we're going to be like, here, this is your grandfather's. So in my mind, even if that was the only petition we ever received from these Facebook ads, it's a connection that we wouldn't have been able to make otherwise.
That's incredible. That's just wow.
Well, so, I mean, that's the best part.
That's awesome.
Because I think what that proves. Can you guys hear me? I'm switching inputs. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I think that amazing about that is that it proves that by doing it purposefully, that you can actually make a human impact. So it's not this cold calculating marketing machine. You're not trying to do click funnels. You're not trying to, you know, sell into my, my management plan. No, you are trying to reach people who would otherwise not be aware, and you're helping them be exposed to something that they've been curious to already. And what I love about that, I mean, it's great that that story works out, because you said it right. If that was the only person who joined Freemasonry, his heart's in the right place. He just needed that one spark that came from one idea, from one man, to reach to the Grand Lodge to get permission to do this. So
Yeah,
the impact cannot be underestimated.
and talking to some other guys who saw the ads, I really wanted to drill into like, well, if you're interested, why didn't you reach out before? We've been here for a while, and they go, I from what I googled, you gotta be related to a Mason. There's so many things that are so wrong.
You have to be
You
invited
have
to
to
be a
be invited.
Mason.
You have to be invited. You have to know somebody. All this stuff. I'm like, dude. He's like, I've wanted to become a Mason for so long. We had a guy um, email me a couple days ago. So, working on our website and our SEO and that kind of stuff. So people who search for Masonry in our city could find us, right? Crazy. He goes, I just got out of the military, and some of my really close friends were Masons in the military, and I want to join. And there was no, that was his decision. I want to join. And cool, man. Yeah. And it just so happened that the first night he could make it, and it was totally my fault. I didn't do the calculation in my head of which dates, but I said, oh, which date can you make? And he said, I can make this date. And that was the night we were doing military appreciation night. I should have been more prepared. But he came out and he's like, did you guys do this for me? And I'm like, well, kinda. Glad you're here. And he's like, I was like, yeah, we really respect the military members. And he's like, now he's sitting at the table with all these guys who are, current and past military. Um, so he definitely asked for a petition that night. Um, it works, man. I I don't know, but I'm curious. Are you guys doing this in any of your lodges? Do you know of anybody else?
So not in my lodges. Although John, we've talked about this on the show before with your lodge, with Patriot Lodge, how you all get what approximately half of your new members off of your Facebook
Oh,
page.
that's a conservative number. Um, uh, at least one or two a year actually
Mm.
send a message to the Facebook page, because they've actively searched for it. They've actually, they've heard about the Patriot Lodge through a variety of ways, and then find it and then just message blindly. They don't know who's on the other end, but yet they take that first step and say, "Hey, I've heard of the Masons. I'm a student here, and I'm really curious." And I take it as my responsibility to reply back as soon as I can, because I am one of many admins on that page, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Here's what you need to do. Here's when we're meeting next. And if I can't be there personally because I'm busy, um, I make sure I contact another member of the lodge that will say, hey, oh, are you the person who we talked to online? Great, and make sure that there's someone on the receiving end. It works, and that's with zero advertising. That's just merely having an active, albeit social media presence, that actually there's a human on the other end to make sure that once someone is curious, you're there to receive it. It's a little
Yeah,
bit little bit more personal than just send us an email and the secretary will get back to you. Maybe.
right. The hardest part, I mean, not gonna lie, it's been a little bit of a hard road. The hardest part that we've had to deal with is honestly telling, you know, look, Bob, I know you like coming to lodge dinner so you can hang out with your friends, right? We all do. That's the time we spend with our bros if you eat lunch before, or eat dinner before lodge. I said, but I really need you to lock onto this guy and spend some time with him, introduce him to people, and that's not for everyone. You really have to find someone who's kind of a social butterfly, and he's like, "Oh, what do you do? Construction. Oh, John does construction. Let me introduce you to him." Um, that's really been the hardest part, to be honest, because everybody's kind of there. We're all there to see our friends. We all love each other, so uh, having to do that,
Nick,
and then
Nick, do you have in Florida any prerequisite length of time a person has to be known to the lodge before, or can they come in off the street, love Freemasonry, and turn in a petition?
Juan, do you want to answer that?
Yeah. We do not. We do not have a predetermined amount of time before we hand out a petition. It is more of a individual lodge's prerogative. My lodge will not give out a petition on the first visit. It's a rule, it's a thing that we do. We want to make sure that we sit and have dinner with the potential candidate several times. I won't tell you a number in case people are counting. Um, but but we want to make sure, I often say it, we want to make sure that this is the kind of man that we want to open the doors of our house to. Like, these are men that are going to
Yes.
spend time with your children, they're going to spend time with your spouse. You want to get to know them enough to be able to say, yeah, this is an upstanding guy. He should be part of us. But I also wanted to mention about that whole difficulty that you were having, Nicholas, finding someone who would actually take the time to, during that initial dinner, go spend time with them. I was recently going through some of the responsibilities of the different officers here in Florida, and the senior deacon's responsibility. Um, of course, without going into too many details, you hear his description about what his role is, but there's a more in-depth role. Like, the senior deacon is supposed to be at the anteroom of the lodge at the beginning of the, prior to the meeting, and making sure that everyone feels welcome. I know. I see your face.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I'll save you some time in if you have that pretty binder with the Masonic leadership training. Just jump straight to
MLT
the.
one
If you
two
don't have it,
three. Of
no, no, no.
course.
This is yeah. So in
What
there, if you go to
what would happen?
the roles, uh
What would happen, you guys? Like, so my lodge, we were able to like write petitions, and we outlined some really difficult things in our bylaws because we saw like where things were failing, like in this very instance, right? So, um, like, what if, or could you do this? It's what we've done, but we don't bring candidates in like hardly at all. So the idea is top line signer must be the mentor or the intender, and so if you can't do that, don't be the top line signer. Like, do you guys have rules like that you guys try, or how's that work?
Not in Florida. In
yeah.
Massachusetts, where I was made a Mason. Well, I shouldn't say not in Florida. I haven't seen it in the lodges I've visited in Florida. In Massachusetts, uh, before I was allowed to give them my petition, my top line signer, who I said, dude, you're awesome. I mean, I've only met you 5 minutes, but you're awesome. Can you sign my petition? He's like, no, I don't know you. And long story short, it took 4, 5, 6 months, and him and I, we went rock climbing together, we went hiking together, we went to funerals together, we went to each other's house and met each other's family. And I had no idea what he was doing. I was like, oh, this is a really friendly guy. He's like, hey, let's go shopping. I
Cultivating
gotta
cultivating that experience, man. It's like what we tell somebody is, hey, Joe Smith, thanks for turning in your petition. You were voted upon favorably. And, oh, and by the way, meet your new best friend.
Ha!
Like, this guy is your new best friend. I don't care. Like, you got lunch with your brother tomorrow? No, you don't. Like, but in all seriousness, this is the way this kind of cultivates, and it's interesting because I want to tie this back to the social media aspect. I am curious, just on your opinion. Can you mentor through like Messenger?
I don't think so. I really don't. You need that FaceTime. And this is somebody I do the social media marketing
You
for
mean
a
you
lot
need
of
Apple
clients.
FaceTime? You need the Apple app?
I mean, that may work, yeah. I mean, if you're doing a video call on Messenger, sure.
Yeah.
It's really I don't think it's I don't think it's sitting down across the table and like going over the catechism Q&As that make it. It's really the BS between the questions. It's really the hey, sorry I'm late, like, whatever, this is going on, and then they go into a story. That you can't do that across a screen. And I'm a millennial. All my work is on the computer, but I don't think so.
So I got
And
one
here,
last thing that I'm really curious about. Juan, you want to go or me? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
go first, and
Okay. So the last thing I was curious about while we have some time left is the point of experimentation. That some of the questions in the chat are like, well, why didn't you target women? Because maybe you should target married women because they'll invite their husbands to join. Why didn't you target firefighters? Right. The beauty of this platform, and it's not just Facebook. You can do this on Instagram. You can do this on a variety of other ones as well. The beauty of the platform is you can run multiple ads targeting different people with different lengths of time, with different subjects, different titles, different pictures. You can try all sorts of things, and the beauty of it is you can track what works and what doesn't. And so,
And you're not
um,
out a ton of money if
right,
you try an experiment and it fails.
yep. And so the
Yeah.
beauty of it is you could really optimize what works for your local area. You do 5 miles, you can do 50 miles. You can do a whole variety of interests and demographics, and the marketing term of like what are the hooks and what are the images that you show. Um, you maybe you want to target, maybe your lodge is a Shriner entryway lodge, and so you could actually just put more Shriner pictures into your ads, and then next thing you know, that might target people who know only of the Shriners but not the Masons. So the options are virtually endless, and you can really see what works for your lodge, for your community, and for Masonry writ large. So it's not just try this for this one magic show. It's try lots of things to see what works for your lodge's community and your lodge's uh, culture.
And again, the
100%.
beauty of Facebook is that it gives you all of the metrics. So you can make data derived decisions to help gain more traction going forward for less money. And it's amazing.
now I want to make sure that I speak on that. Like Nicola's example is an outstanding one, and if you look by the usual return on investment when it comes to Facebook advertising, like your mileage will vary drastically. I just recently heard from um, a colleague that was frustrated because she had only gotten like, and this is from a business perspective, she had only gotten a 25 leads, no, 60 leads out of $100 investment. And she was frustrated because she expected more. Like clearly her expectation was completely far off from the mark. That's a really great return on investment in
That's a
what a
really
lead
good
would.
thing.
Yeah, but from her point of view, she was like, what did I do wrong? And then everybody who was in that group collaborating, they were like, what are you talking about? Like, what the hell did you do? So to get that, help us do that well. So I just wanted to make a point that those of you who are listening, who perhaps are considering doing something like Nicholas has presented, uh, don't use his results as your measure of success. Have an open mind in order for you to put some experiments out there to see what kind of response you get and learn from what you do. If you did something right, repeat it, emulate it, see if there's a way that you can improve upon it, and then measure that result based on your previous results. So, because like it would suck that if we hear from someone who has a little bit less success than you did, but it's still great in comparison to what other, the local barbershop, the response that the local barbershop is getting might be dismal compared to, what we get from trying to share our fraternity.
Right.
Well,
So
again, we're a pretty niche market too, so take that into account. What were you saying, Nicholas?
here's a question for everybody. If you could only get one petitioner, like one guy, we'll say in a magic world, he put his petition in, how much is he worth? $100 of ads? $500 of ads?
Okay, so I'm going to have to calculate the lifetime value of this customer. So I'm going to average out the average dues pays over the demit time, and so I'm going to look at members sticking around for say 20 years. 20 years times $100, so at least $2,000 of value to the
That's the
lodge.
planned value.
Yes,
So
that's
we
the
also
plan.
have to track the earned value.
Oh no, we
See,
don't. Get out.
This is
Everywhere.
like, I know this is half joking, but the problem that I have with this is, I wouldn't give two turds about the guy's money coming in. Like, I think for me, I'm looking at somebody who says, I want to find masonry, right? And I would hope that the person coming into lodge from a social media campaign is somebody who's already heard the call, right? Like, I don't want their first experience. Oh, Freemasonry! I saw National Treasure. I was on Facebook, and all of a sudden I see a lodge on Facebook, and I'm going to go visit them and join. That's probably not the guy that somebody in the chat said. Why would it not work? And so, for specific types of lodges, for instance, if you have a philosophy club, then it's, in my opinion, it might not work. But I'll tell you what it did do is it allowed me to bring that person to a more traditional space lodge where they'll find value. But to go back to the value of that person coming in, what's that worth to you? I mean, if that person is coming in for the quote unquote right reasons, then I would find that the value is immeasurable, right? Because
Yes.
people laugh all the time when I say it. Being a Mason is taking a charge to change the world. There's that story about Apple who went to the lady. She was a CEO, and he told her, "Yeah, you can go work for Pepsi, or you can come with me and change the world." And it's the same dynamic, in my opinion, because if you're out there, if you're affecting the community, you're providing those reliefs, those ideals, building up the community. They see you're there. They know you're a protector, somebody who is there. It's there. It is priceless. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
$80 in ads. Who cares?
bring that back a couple of notches. Like, changing the world is a big task. This could be a brand new husband, brand new father, who really has no specific male role models to follow other than those prescribed by pop culture. And here you have opened the doors to him to emulate outstanding men in the community to whom otherwise he would never have gained access to. So, like, just alone from the fact that the impact that that man is going to have on his kid, that alone is worth the money. So
Wow. Yeah.
hopefully we are able to, as we continue moving forward in, in the technical developments that we have access to, those who are in leadership positions are open-minded enough to recognize that these are not attacks against the fraternity or attacks against the fundamentals of our fraternity. Instead, these are tools that can be used in order for us to perpetuate those fundamentals.
All right. We have had an amazing conversation tonight, but I think it's about time for us to wrap up. So we'll go ahead and go back around one more time to everybody for the final thoughts and shameless plugs, starting with Mike the intern.
Well, this is a great thing to think about. I know that my lodge has actually talked about wanting to build a website and do some Facebook, mainly because they just want to give something out there that they can uh, try and get the ideas out about our lodge education that we're, working towards, and trying to get brothers just interested in coming to visit. Whether or not they join us, that isn't the point. But coming in to get the education we're going to be putting out. So I think this will be a great step for our lodge too. So thank you very much, Nick, for coming on and sharing all this with us. I think it's great, and it's going to be very helpful for us in the future.
Awesome. Juan, what have you got for us?
Yeah, thank you, Nicholas, for spending this time with us and sharing your experience. We definitely need more of this in our fraternity, being able to have use the tools that are at our disposal. These are tools that everybody in every walk of life, every different industry is taking advantage of, and there's no reason, there's no ethical reason for us to hold back from using these tools. So I hope that many brothers listening who are in a position to make decisions to help the fraternity uh, reach the community, they take these into account and employ them appropriately. For all the brothers listening, thank you so much for the great support. If you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, swing by our YouTube channel real quick and subscribe. While you're at it, find Whence Came You, subscribe to that, and thirdly, go to the Winding Stairs, check that out, and just let us know what you want to hear from us. If there's anything in particular that you're interested in, feel free to send us a direct line. We'll be happy to consider it for future episodes. So thank you again for listening to the Masonic Roundtable. Good evening.
All right, over to Robert.
Hey, okay.
Dramatic pause.
Yeah, dramatic pause. Nick, phenomenal, phenomenal episode having you come on and talk about this kind of thing, because to be honest with you, until tonight, when I asked the guys in the chat tonight, I said, Nick's coming on to talk about lodges and social media, because honestly, I have no desire to ever do that with my current lodge, but also that's not every lodge. And then Jason was like, no, it's more like about the community engagement. And I was like, oh, yeah. I was so high and mighty, riding around on my high horse, that I didn't think about the idea of using social media as a platform for community engagement, particularly within Freemasonry. And so I think total game changer, perspective changer. That's always, I'll be thinking about that now for forever. So thank you for that. Plugs. MasonicCon Chicago have a new speaker being announced on Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. I can't believe this person said yes. So if you want to know who that is a week before everybody else, go over to MasonicConChicago.com and get on the email list. I won't sell your email address or anything like that. It's just for us. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., the Illinois Lodge of Research, brand new website. I rebuilt the whole thing, got some really cool features on there. So if you're a member of the Illinois Lodge of Research already, cool. Get on there and request member access so you can access a bunch of the really cool new features I put in the website. And I also just refreshed the WCY podcast website. So that's a much more mobile friendly platform. We just did a total rebuild. So thanks, and check all that stuff out. And lastly, I'll be at Evans Lodge in Evanston December 10th. I think the date is, doing a presentation on colonial masonry, specifically talking about how lodges helped out in the lower socioeconomic classes in the early days of colonial America. So somewhat relevant. thanks very much. And just Nick, thank you again.
All right, over to John.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, I'm super excited about this. The fact that um, Robert and I talked about that in the book. It's business time, adapting a corporate path to Freemasonry. People took, there were some people who hated on it, saying, "Oh, well, it's too businessy, too corporatey." This is an actual, real life, practical application of where it works, and the fact that Nicholas can talk about multiple stories of the human element, the human side of this. That not only did it work, it worked so well that you're touching the heartstrings of guys who had a connection to masonry, or just wasn't. It was just the right time when this happened, and so really the only thing I can say is like find a way to do this. See if it's allowed by your Grand Lodge. See if it's allowed by your lodge. See what your advertising budget is for your lodge, and try it. The best part about the stuff is you can literally spend $5 to get started. Um, so it's a very low risk, high reward thing to try. And the last thing I'd add in is that it could actually work too well. So when Nicholas was saying that some of the guys were like, "How much money do you need? $1,000?" Just imagine of how well it worked with the under $100 you spent. Imagine 10 times that, tenfold. What kind of return you could have 10 times as many guys showing up. You still have that vetting process of how you go through and vet people to make sure that they're in it for the right reasons, and investigation committees and the like. So, but this is just getting them to show up, and then the magic happens. So I'm excited for it, and I'm excited for the future of Freemasonry because of that.
Oh,
Thanks.
awesome. Thanks, John. Over to you, Nicholas, for any final thoughts and shameless plugs.
Gosh, how do I follow up on that? Thanks for having me on, guys. It was really great. And you guys know, you guys were the first people I reached out to when the numbers started rolling in because you guys are an inspiration for our whole generation of masonry. And it was crazy to see it working. And just like you said, tenfold. I mean, even if you go the other way, how would your lodge change if two people joined? What that could change the entire future of your lodge. And like you said, you only need a few dollars to get started. You don't need some IT degree. I'm going to post some links and stuff in the Winding Stairs group or wherever one wants it, the Winding Stairs Facebook group. Just how to get started. If you have any questions on building a super cheap, really easy landing page, website, Facebook page, getting started with campaigns, please reach out to us because your masonry is my masonry. So our futures are connected. Thank you guys for letting me come on. I really had a great time.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Nicholas. We loved having you on. This was a fantastic episode. It's actually been, I think, one of my favorites so far in our almost 6 year run here on TMR. So this was just a great story and a great use case for using technology to further masonry, not only for masonry's sake, but for the sake of actually making folks better people and having a real impact in the community. And that's just so very cool.
Hey,
So thank
Jason,
you so
speaking of
much.
technology, we want to give also a shout out to the super chats as well, because we had the Moto dude who who did a RIP to the past master that dropped dead because of the internet's when Nicholas was talking about some of the responses that he got. Also want to give a shout out to Joe Martinez. Never heard of this guy. Hashtag not a social club. So you know where Joe stands on that. And then also to Art Monk for appreciating the topic tonight. So that's there's just some extra love we got in the YouTube chat tonight.
Yeah, no, thank you everybody for supporting us week in and week out. That's just awesome. It keeps our lights on and keeps us from having to dig too far down into our own pockets to keep the show running. So thank you so much for all you all do. We're looking forward to bringing you a new topic next week. So have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching and keep searching for more light.